start recording.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be recording all of this,
Oh,
talking to yourself.
we're gonna talk about it nonetheless. I'm gonna take my glasses off so I can be seen.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yep.
today's office hours, what we were gonna talk about today, we had some technical difficulties, so people couldn't join. But nonetheless, we are gonna talk about drip campaigns and how they work, and how do you
There's
implement them.
Terina.
Implement drip campaigns into your business, right? I primarily help coaches and consultants leverage technology by way of text messaging, email campaigns, social media, very in person, on stage, and being able to connect with anybody that you are trying to go after. So one thing that's integral throughout everything I do is email. Email work is the backbone of everything. As much as people say that email might be dead, it's really not, because until you get to a point where you can sign up for a service online or sign up anywhere and they don't ask you for your email address, it's going to be the day when email is no longer a thing. Email is a thing of the past. So, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. First and foremost, I'm going to open it up to see if Terina, if you have any questions about drip campaigns, email marketing, or anything like that.
Sure. Great. Yeah. Okay. Couple of questions. First of all, thank you for dealing with me and my technology challenges. Um, always a thing. It just is. Always. Oh, where'd Keith go? I just saw him a second ago. Now he's gone. And then the question I do have is how frequently should email sequences be dripped out? Like, I have a tendency to do mine for a shorter period of time because I don't want to be a pest.
Right.
Thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts
So,
on
like,
that. My thoughts on that are, I think it still goes back to overall. I have some long thoughts on it. I don't know if Keith has anything that's short, but I'm gonna go first this time, Keith. My thoughts are this: depending on the life cycle of your product, you should set your frequency or your schedule. So if you
right.
have a product where someone can buy it today and then they'll use it up, consume it, and it'd be gone by Friday, or tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday, and then you probably need to be emailing them more frequently. If you have a product where they don't buy from you every day, maybe every month, then you should be sending them contacting them according to that life cycle. So if you have
What?
something that somebody can consume or process through in a month, and I'd say you probably want to touch base with them at least once a month, if not 2 times a month, or in some
What
cases one
about if
times a week.
they're okay? What if they're not a client yet? What if you are like hoping to attract them? Like, you've given them your lead magnet and you're hoping to attract them to become a client. What about that?
Yes. All right. That's a great question. So when it comes down to that, then what you need to be doing is contacting them first as a welcome. The first email is going to be a welcome, and you're basically
Mm-hmm.
saying, "This welcome. This is what we and this is thank you for signing up for this thing. This is how you get your thing. Now what's the next step? This is what we're going to expect. The next day should be, hey, let me tell you a little bit more about me, and then the next thing should be value proposition, and then a soft ask. So that's 5. If they don't respond that week, then the next week, you should be sending them an email once a day. So you send them something or once on Monday, Tuesday, throughout the day, and then you might want to stagger the times that you send them. So you might want to start sending them something at 9 o'clock. Then the next email on Tuesday should be 11, then 1, then 3, then 5, like that, and throughout the week. And then after that, you might want to send them another 2 more. And then I have this dagger that I use, and it works like a charm. It's called the "Why Do You Hate Me" email. If they don't respond to you after being contacted that many times, I just in the subject line I say, "Why do you hate me?" or "What did I do to piss you off?" Something like that. People get that email, they open it, and then you say, oh, I just wanted to get your attention because I wanted to show you that this is really going to help you, and I thought we made a good connection, or you worded it however you want to word it at that point. But then after that, if they don't do anything, then you put them into a long-term nurture, and then eventually, if they don't want to hear from you, they'll opt out or unsubscribe. That's generally how it goes.
So when you say a long-term nurture, like I have a newsletter, but I can't put them into that without them actually requesting it, correct?
You can, well, generally, well, okay. Let me give you a little the. Let's step back a bit. How they got into the place of being able to get an email from me is they opted in some kind of way. They met me.
Got it. True.
They met me, and I maybe like for me, if you meet me at Ignite You, if I scan your business card, you're gonna get put into a long-term nurture if you don't take any action with me. And then you have the option, and the first email that you get is going to be, hey, this is it was nice meeting you today at wherever I met him at, and this is some of the things that I do. I like to keep in contact with everybody that I come in contact with. I like to stay in relationship with them, and so I'll send out emails. If you don't want to receive those emails, please hit the unsubscribe button at the bottom, and then that gives them the opt out to choose and do what they need to do at that point. So, but yeah, you want to make sure that you're touching base with them as much as possible, and your long-term nurture is that's your 6-month or 12-month nurture sequence that you put them into, and then you and then you can renew at the end of that time. What I like to do is I like to create these things called nurturecations, and what it is, as I nurture, while I'm nurturing you, put you in a long-term nurture, I'm also educating you on how to do a better job at the thing that I currently do. So I'm offering value while emailing them. The backbone of all this, of course, is automation, right? And
Right.
I keep track of all those that open my emails, so I know what my lead score is going to be. And then I can go back throughout time, or throughout that course of time. If anybody hits like a 20-pointer, then we need to have a conversation, because that means that they've not only received but opened my email, right? So that's when I have lead scoring attached to it, and that's the automation part in the background. So that way, so for instance, if in your case you have a newsletter, somebody opens up 3 newsletters in a row, right? Or they open up 3 newsletters, and you apply a score of 5 points for every time they open up a newsletter. Then if they get to 15 points, they're pretty serious about the content that you have. Then these 2 things you can do.
Right.
You can give them something that's going to add more value. It's going to give them something that's going to give them more value, or you schedule a time for you to get on the phone call. And what I mean by more value, maybe, hey, there's I don't offer this very much, but here's something special for those that stay in touch and actually consume my information. And here's $150 off your next consultation, something along those lines. And that way you can keep them engaged, right. And it helps build this. It kind of gamifies the whole process. Oh, you mean to tell me the more I stay engaged, the more, and then if you want to make it really personal, then you can track which particular email they created or they opened up and read, right? And you say, hey, I noticed that you liked this email on this email on that, and this email on this. And then you go, whoa, shoot, how did she know that? Well, I keep in touch. And then you can say, because you did that, and then I have a special offer for you. And then you can make your offer that way. At the end of the day.
So with,
At the end of the day, it's about staying personal, right? Staying consistent and adding value.
Right. So you said something I would like to get a little more clarification on.
Okay.
You said that anybody that you meet at Ignite You, you scan and you have their business card. You will put them into a nurture sequence with the opportunity to opt out.
Opt out right off.
Is that correct?
Yeah, right off the top. I say, right in the first email you get, right, then you'll get an email that says, hey, I like to keep in contact with those that I meet, and I just like to keep in contact with people, period. And if that doesn't work for you, if you feel like there's too much, then please hit the unsubscribe, right? And people do. Now, do I take it personal? I'm not going to talk about this for another day, but give them the opportunity to opt out. And that's a real basic level. There's another level of consideration now that we're talking about subscribing and unsubscribing and things like that. There's another concept that I like to build into my clients' businesses, and that is working with preference management. So the preference management basically says, "Hey, I know I know that you wanted to unsubscribe. Would you just like to not receive marketing emails and stay in touch with me? Would you like for me to only send you emails like every month? Would you like for me to send you emails every year, or would you like for me to send?" And this is the one. Would you like for me to send you, or would you just like me to say happy birthday on your birthday? Right? And then you reach out once a year. And then that's the one, the way I said that's the one, because that actually gives you an opportunity to collect a little bit more data so you can be a little bit more personal, so that when their birthdays do come around, you can send them something. Say happy birthday, thank you for being my friend over the last year, and looking forward to whatever your message is going to be, your salutation. So that's that. So that's the long-term nurture. That's the newsletter. Those are the methods that I would use.
What about you, Keith?
Thanks. So I have two theoretical foundations for what I'm getting ready to suggest. One of them is the 8x8 campaign, and I get it from the real estate industry, but it says one touch per week for 8 weeks. And the other one is the most recent data out of Google, which is 7-11-4. When I first was my educational background in the last century, in the 20th century, business world was saying it takes 7 touches to reach a buying decision. When I got out of the Army and in business, my gut was telling me it's more than that. I don't quite know how much more. So I was saying I think it's more like 12 to 18, 12 to 24 touches. The Google data that came out a couple months ago, so February timeframe of this year, says 7 hours of engagement.
Wow.
In 11 different touches on 4 different platforms or 4 different places. Mm-hmm. So if one of the places is a billboard that's on their commute every single week, every single day, well, that might rank that can be one of the places. I don't think it's necessarily mutually exclusive. It's not 7 hours and 11 touches and 4 places. It's some combination of those 3. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
So the way you would apply that is 8 emails if email marketing is your
One
place,
touch.
that's only one of your 4 places. But if you can get them to read 8 or 12 of your emails, well, that's going to move them farther up the process than just one place.
Mm-hmm.
If that email is compelling enough, that it is engaging enough, that it's not that they're skimming. So like on LinkedIn right now, LinkedIn gives you this link is a 3-minute read, 1-minute read versus a 3-minute read versus a 7-minute read, right? And very rarely will I click through on something that it says it's going to be a 7-minute read. But if your people are clicking through when it is a 7-minute read, that's a pretty high. Now going back to Xavier's lead scoring, that's a pretty high level of engagement if they're willing to engage on something that they know is going to be an in-depth read. Or if you have a link in your email to a video and they're clicking through, even if they're watching that video on 2 times speed, this is the person who's indicated a high level of interest in what you have to say. Does that make sense?
It does. It
Okay.
really does.
So so I think both of us are saying a whole bunch of it depends. Um and 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 there's for every single business there's two different factors. There's what you have to say and how important it is to them, and there's how immediate it is to what the problems in their life that they're trying to solve right now. So Xavier started with a statement that says if there's if your product is something that they use on a regular basis, then there's going to be an expectation that you're going to engage them on a more regular basis.
Right.
Right.
On the other hand, if your product is something that they are only going to buy once in a lifetime or a couple times in a decade, if you're not engaging them regularly, you're not going to be top of mind when it comes time for them to make that decision. So it's this balancing act of being in their inbox enough without making yourself be and Terina, you said this is part of the thing you're concerned about is not being too aggressive, not being too pushy. I forget which word exactly you used.
I think I said a pest.
A pest, yes.
I think I said a
Okay,
pest.
not being a pest. Well, you're so sweet that I don't know that anyone's going to consider you a pest.
How do you keep people
But anything
Okay.
less than 5 is you you can bet that anything less than 5 isn't going to. I mean, if the person that's going to buy immediately anyway is going to buy immediately anyway. And you can create your automations such that if you have an 8x8 or Xavier talked about basically a
It's a
7 to 10 day daily engagement for that for the first for the after the first contact for the first couple weeks. You can actually create an automation where if someone does buy, they get pulled out of that.
Yeah,
Right.
they immediately get
Right.
ejected into another sequence.
So let me ask you guys this: how do you keep out of people's junk boxes?
Oh, that was last week's that was last week's topic.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, there
So
was
let
the
me
technical parts last week.
Yeah, I'll go into that a little bit further though, because one thing we didn't talk about in depth is the tooling. There's some tools that you can employ that's going to be able to help you keep out of the junk promotion and spam folders. And that the one tool that I immediately tell people that if that's going to be your goal, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to launch an email campaign, a cold email campaign, the first thing you need to do is warm up your email address, warm up your domain, right? And how in this application that I'm going to expose to you in a minute does just that. It actually will warm up your domain so that when you get ready to send out messages into a when you get ready to use that email address or that domain to send out start a campaign, it'll actually help you stay in the green. And if you ever get dropped or if you ever get flagged and your spam rating starts to go up higher and higher, it will cut that out of your list of emails or domains that you have already pre-purchased and warmed up. And that piece of software is called Instantly. And then another one that I highly recommend is through Lead Connector, right? Because Lead Connector has an email verification tool that will send out to make sure that those emails are valid. Because when you start thinking about what is causing you to go to spam, is antitrust, right? These ESPs or the email service providers, they don't know you. And
Right.
so when you're sending out, especially if you're using email from your business or your professional email, they're going to see that and immediately be like, nope. And
I thought having my Google, being Google verified would have made a difference for that,
no,
but I don't think it
it
has.
does it makes a difference, but it doesn't solve it. And let me talk about that too. It's an ongoing process. Like I still like just this morning, I couldn't send an email to someone because they, for whatever reason, that where I was sending it to was rejecting it, right? And it's an ongoing process. You have to always stay on top of it. Like I need to probably go and check my SPF and my DKIM or my SPF and my DMARC records to make sure that they're still accurate and reflecting what they need to reflect. It's something that you have to maintain. You have to look at. You got to constantly be getting good at it. And eventually, what happens is you stop bouncing so much. One of the more practical things I tell people to do is that whenever you're emailing or somebody's emailing you or you have to email somebody or you tell somebody to go here and download a thing, make sure that they respond, that they whenever they get it, they respond back, I got it. So if you email somebody, instruct them to email you back saying I got it, because that's going to build up your domain authority and the trust with the ESPs.
Got it. Can I just say that we speak very different languages? You were like SPF, and all I could think about is sunscreen.
I know. Okay, yeah. SPF records and DKIM. We talked about that on last week's office hours. Let me see if I can find it and drop it into the chat. But we talked about what all that means in detail. And yeah, so
I can probably watch it. I think now that I'm finally
that's
in here,
right.
I think.
Yeah, you probably can. I just thought I'd just make it a little easier. And
that would be me and technology again. Did you not catch it the first time when I was 15 minutes late?
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, so email sequences, that makes sense. And then what other you asked about another topic. If I had any questions about another topic.
We just wanted to see if you had any questions around or answer any questions when it comes down to drip campaigns and automated marketing, email marketing campaigns. You asked some really good questions, and I like the direction that we were going in regards to in regards to what the frequency is going to be. Another thing we talked about was what kind of content should be in those emails when you send them out, right? So let's talk about a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So let's talk about how to create the content. I personally like to use ChatGPT, but not ChatGPT out the box. I like to use ChatGPT my way. Like I have my ChatGPT, the prompts that are trained to know my kind of tone and what I'm looking for out of the output. And I generally just put in a prompt that says, it gives ChatGPT. Are you familiar with ChatGPT, Terina?
Yeah, actually, I use Voila. I think it's the one that I use.
Voila? Okay.
It's VOILO.
Voila.
VOIOLO.
Voila. Okay. Yeah. So with that being the case, yeah, if that's what you're using, then I don't know if it takes prompts. Does it take prompts? I'm not familiar with this tool.
It does. So like that one, I can put like the other day I did this, write a casual, emotional blog post, and then I put my information behind it, and then it'll come up with whatever. And then I always go through and I almost always like tweak it or edit it or personalize it just a little bit more, but it gives me, I look at it as the foundation instead of just the whole thing. You're looking it up. Let me see if I can
I see
find if I spelled it properly. It's yeah. I'm sorry. It's VOA.
And voila. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I would use a tool like that to write the content. I always like to use my tone is going to be professional, witty, and entertaining. So that because that kind of matches my personality, and helps people. Did she drop? Or something happened. Oh,
Nope, I'm here.
okay,
I'm here. I can still hear you.
okay. Um, that kind
Don't
of
scare me in technology.
that's the tone that I use, and so then I use that. So what I'm basically doing there is informing it to produce these things for me. Like one of the, like I said, I like to use nurture Kate sequences, so that as I'm nurturing you, I'm also educating you, so you can get value out of our communications together, right? And I like to implement that over 3 months, 6 months, and some cases 9 months. And what I like to do there is provide people with a way to catch up with whatever else they missed by creating a post page that people can go back, and I take those emails and turn those into blog posts. I mean, just straight up, just the email copy, drop it in a blog post, and then they can go back and see what they missed from week one, week two, week three. Because I want people to, when they jump in, I want them to jump in with wherever the rest of everybody else is at, um, and uh, and then I help them.
You lost me there because you're talking about people jumping in for wherever they're at.
Yeah, so like for
Explain that
instance,
to me a little bit.
yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that out. So imagine you started at the top of the year. You said I'm going to take 6 months to educate people on how to be better
Oh,
be
I
better
see.
better
Okay,
with finances. So
got it.
somebody might opt in at week 8, but then I'll say this is number 40, right? Say it's day
Got
5
it.
of week 8. Tip number 40, right? And then at the end of the email, I'll
Got it.
say to catch up on those that you missed, go here, and then they'll go back
Got
and
it.
they'll watch that again. And the reason why I use that format is because usually on that page, I have an offer on that page to take advantage of whatever the main service is that I have to offer, and then give it to them at a discount, right? Um,
Right.
and then I also lead score that activity. So if they clicked on that link is tied to. Anyway, we won't go that deep into it, but that is tied to a trigger link, and that trigger link, when clicked, is a certain uh, it's a certain point or a certain score that goes with that person's contact information. But I like so that. But let's go back to what we're talking about. What kind of content would you put in those emails? So that's the kind of content that I would structure, and that's how I would create it. I would use some kind of chat or some kind of generative, pre-trained technology of some sort, some kind of GPT or something like that or a tool that has the ability to write the copy for me, and then I would just train it to spit out content that sounds like my voice, and then I would use something like a nurture Kate or um, a share your testimonial page, or where I highlight those that have used, or share testimonial emails. I would highlight those that have used the services that I have, and maybe say, hey, if you want to see the full video, you can go here, or if you want to read the full article, go here or learn more, and then they would take them on to where they want to go. So and there's other ways to create content that's going to be both relevant, entertaining, or educational, and there's a bunch of them out there. But those are the few that I like to personally use. So,
That's
Keith, you
cool.
got any
What
tips
about
on
you,
that?
Keith?
Did he freeze?
What about
Um,
you? Oh, nope, nope, he didn't. Okay, good.
okay, I just had to get back over to my microphone. Yeah, yeah, I like the ideas you're presenting there, uh, Xavier. The sequences that I've done have all been. Ju- I literally have asked AI whether I'm using ChatGPT or whether I haven't used Jasper, and then Jasper I think has been renamed as something. Um, and suddenly I'm drawing a blank on what the other one I've used. But I've literally asked it for the outline. I said, what are the emails I should use in sequence, the titles of the emails, and then it gave me the sequence of emails, and then I said, okay, write me an email for that, write me an email for this, write me an email for this, and then, like you, Terina, I didn't publish it that way. I went back and took the title, and I said I wouldn't have worded it that way. I wouldn't have worded the subject line that way. So I rewrote the subject line a little bit, and then I took the body and I rewrote the body as well. But it gave me that 8 different emails in sequence, and they are a pattern of nurturing people who are specifically. I have one in progress. I was just checking as while we were talking to see what the status is, because it goes out on Thursdays. So I had run paid ads back in February, March, and I'm nurturing all the people that opted into those paid ads with this sequence of why you need to focus on your Google Business Profile, why you need to focus on your Google Business Profile, and it's 8 different issues on that topic.
That's cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I forget about using them as an outline to give you kind of the sub context for the bigger topic. That can be really helpful, because I think you can get stuck thinking, I don't know, the word I would use is that you become so immersed in your own product, service, whatever, that I think you forget about the basics sometimes that people need, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. One other thing I
Yes,
wanted to...
there's a technical term for it.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Keith.
Yep, there's a technical term for it called the curse of knowledge.
Yes, thank you. I've heard that before, but could not figure it out, the words for that. So yeah, thank you.
The curse of knowledge. Got it. One other thing I wanted to talk about too, and Keith, you can chime in on this. How often should you make an offer in your nurture sequence? Right? That's a big one. How often should you be making an offer? So if
Is
you...
this a question?
Yeah. Well, I'm posing it to...
Okay.
Keith.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna. You asked me to.
I'm going to come back to it. But I want you to go ahead and answer it.
Okay. When I talk about the 8x8 campaign, where you're engaging once per week for every week for 8 weeks, I think you can legitimately have something in that email that is an offer, that is a call to action. When you're engaging every single day for that initial surge, I think it's really easy to achieve offer fatigue, because they know because you're probably hitting on a particular offer. The other part, which is always as always, it depends, is there's such a thing as a soft offer. So there's the actual offer for your product that you buy, but there's also these softer call to actions, like, hey, for more information, here's my YouTube video that's the longer version of my description, and why don't you go watch my YouTube video, and would you like my video? And so if they're clicking through to your video and they're playing that video, that's also a call to action, that yes, you can use the technologies that we have available to do trigger links, so you can lead score it, but specifically it gives you that chance to to have a softer action request, so you're not banging them continuously. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to say, I like to offer, like, in the first five emails in the first 5 days post somebody opting in or taking an action, then I like to give them a breather a little bit. So I let them, I add value, I add value, I add value, make an offer, add value. So I get 3 out, and then on the fourth one, I'll make an offer, and then on the fifth one, I'll add more value. But I also like to implement the soft ask, like Keith was talking about. So something that's going to add more value but take you to a different place. And it's proven that people are more likely to spend money with you, or when they spend time with you. So you giving them the opportunity to go somewhere to spend more time with you, like Keith was explaining earlier, is going to give you a higher opportunity to close. And then, of course, when they go to somewhere else, then at that point, I'm going to have an offer, right? At the end of that, say, okay, well, if you want to do this, then do that, right? So, for instance,
So,
if you want me to build out your email campaign and want me to build out your drip campaign for you, then you can reach out to me on my email, Xavier@thetraffic.link, and that would be something that somebody would do. And that would be where that ask is going to be.
but like, what if you take them to, you said, if you take them to a video, how do you put an offer in the video? Like, how would you do that?
Yeah, so I would put the offer in the video. I would start off the video by saying, hey, with your hook, right? Saying, hey, thank you very much. You're going to learn these things here. If you stay to the end, I have something special for you. And then at the end, you circle back around to that special thing that you're going to offer, and then help them move along in the journey. Now, mind you, all that we're talking about, when you move somebody from email, or you move somebody from social media to getting email to then making an offer, you effectively have them in a funnel.
Right.
So if you heard that term, this is what that is. So this is moving somebody out of the social media sphere into your funnel.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I had a question or a thought or something, and it might circle back around. Looks like Justin joined us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's going on, JR? You got something to pipe in? I see you over there licking your chops. I ain't got my glasses on, so I have to lean in close.
Just got through eating. That's why I'm licking my chops.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Nothing to add. I think it's good, man.
Okay,
Hi,
perfect.
everyone.
Hi.
Yeah. So, any other questions, Terina? I'm glad that you're asking these questions. This is really great.
What is the topic, real quick?
Drip campaign, drip marketing, automated drip campaigns.
Oh, automated drip campaigns.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you're tracking. How do you keep talking about, like, giving them points and ranking? So how does that all work?
All right, so that's a arbitrary system that I came up with based on activities that I feel like activities that people can take that will indicate to me or signal to me that these people are more prone to buy than others. And the back end of it, like, I have the Traffic Link app that I built out specifically for coaches and consultants that's built on a high level. And basically I have listeners that are listening in the background for certain activities. One of them is email opens. Another one is clicked on tripwire links. Another one is have a percentage of videos watched. So if somebody watches 25%, they get 1 point. If they watch 50%, they get 3 points. They watch 90%, they get 4, and if they watch 100%, they get 5. So then that adds to the point total, and that's all handled in the tool that I'm referring to, the Traffic Link app. And Keith uses the same subsystem as I do But I think he might have his like more niche toward, or more geared toward a different niche than mine. But I know mine is specifically for coaches and consultants. But that's pretty much the way I have it running in the background. So it's something that happens in the background without me even having to touch it. I just touch it one time, said this is my point structure, and based on activity, then count up these points. If they get to a certain point, notify me, and then when it notifies me, I can then take a manual action to either reach out by email, send them an option or a special offer, or give them a phone call.
Okay. What about you, Keith? What do you have?
Yeah. So so the concept is gamification, and it's also called lead scoring, and it's the idea of not everyone is equally hot prospect.
Right.
So I'm currently not using any of those features. I had a client who we set one up for. We tried to do a like a very custom version about this time last year, and frankly, it was really cumbersome. And the additional features that have been added to Lead Connector have greatly simplified the ability to set up a gamification, and build if a person is clicking on this particular link, you can make that be a higher point value than if they're going to. So like if they're clicking on your link to your YouTube channel, that's a much stronger signal than if they're clicking on a link to I'm not picking up a good example.
An email?
Yeah, um if your soft calls to action maybe yeah, I'm not coming up with a good example of what would be a lower indicator.
Well, I have mine.
Where they are taking well
Set for like
and
social media. If they click on
yeah.
if they email me or DM me on social media, right, then I give them a low score like a 1, right? If then they click on a link that I sent them in social media, then that becomes a 5. And then I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about, Keith?
Yeah, yeah. And Terina, you don't. Somebody could easily do this without a dedicated software platform. You could have an Excel spreadsheet where you're just if as long as your list is small enough that you can do it manually, you can. If they open the email delivered is like a baseline, right? That's not a thing. But
Yeah, that's usually a
email
1 for me.
opened is a is a is a low score, but it is a score. Um, versus some link inside the email they clicked, yeah, that starts becoming a higher score right away. Um, since we're talking in terms of email drips, um, if they're engaging with you on social media, that's one thing. If they're clicking into something else that you own, into your website, into your funnel, onto your YouTube channel, or even a different social media channel. So they're choosing to engage with you on a different one of those places. That's an indicator that they're a pretty high prospect.
That's good. That's helpful.
All right. We got 3 minutes left. Justin, I want to hear from you a little bit. Say something.
Okay.
Well,
Oh boy, that head kickback is not good.
I'm just thinking. I don't know what to say. I'm not really in on the conversation. I'm just kind of listening to. I was gonna make a smart ass comment about what's my score since I IM you on Instagram all the time. My score should be like 100 million, but now I know I'm always a 1 because I don't ever click your links. So
No, the ones are cumulative. They're cumulative.
Oh, they are cumulative.
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely have like a million score. So what does that mean?
That means that I'm probably going to call you back. I'm probably gonna do like I normally do, get on the phone with you and call you.
uh, I don't know. I'm just thinking through. Like we just had there was a long. Our conversation got extended today, and then we were talking about at the end of the session. Anthony made a recommendation that we should do a session on how to build a funnel. Because a lot of people just don't know the basics of how to build a funnel. So we were just kind of sketching, you know, like the steps that you have to do. You start with the database, and then you have to filter that, qualify that database, and then you have to decide the outreach, the marketing channel, the tactic you want to use to reach out to those people, and then how do you want to automate that? So it's interesting. So does everybody come into the funnel as a zero, or do they have to have an integration? If I've qualified you to a certain degree, would you be a zero still, or are you always? I mean, would I give you a 1 if I've pre-qualified you through some other means, and then your score goes up from there? How do you determine a 0? Is a 0 somebody that you've tried to interact with, but they're no longer talking to you? Is it a 0 somebody who's ejected but still on your list?
Yeah. So yeah, basically, and so that lead scoring has a cousin, right? Called list cleanliness, right? And so after 90 days, if no contact, then I just remove you. I just D&D you, do not disturb, right? Or I'll remove you from the list. I'll clean you, and then after that, I'll go through it and manually get rid of anybody that's on the D&D list after 180 days. Because at the end of the day, I only want to interact with those that are most likely to interact with me. And if there's not a conversation, then it's a monologue, right? And I want a dialogue to come out of our interactions. So,
Let me change your perspective.
yeah,
He who asks the questions controls the conversation. So you create your own dialogue if you're asking questions.
Right.
So have you just not asked the right question? Or is the question engage? I don't know.
well, at the end of the day, so then now you go into another topic altogether, which is like copywriting principles and overall like psychology and engagement strategies.
Okay.
But at the end, but the truth that if you talk to somebody in real life, not in computer land, if every time you sent me a text message or you emailed me and I didn't email you back, and we're supposed to be friends, how long will we stay friends?
No.
Yeah,
Depends.
yeah. It depends on your long suffering, one, right? It depends on how long you can actually deal with that kind of behavior. But generally, people, if you're dating, let's change it to the dating scene. If you're dating someone and all of a sudden you start sending them messages, they don't send you any messages back. What do we call that? You got ghosted.
Ghosting.
Yeah, you got ghosted. So if I'm not gonna sit there and entertain somebody that's ghosting me, so I'm gonna remove you off my list and I'm gonna talk to those that are most likely to talk to me. So even though
But I would challenge that just a little bit.
Okay.
And here's why. Like I would put them into like a long term, like I would put them in maybe just into my newsletter that they would get once a month instead.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Life has a tendency to throw major curveballs. And I think about some of the major curveballs that I've had in my life. And I didn't have the bandwidth to respond back to like I didn't want to open the conversation further because my like tolerance was already way like maxed out. So, prime example, when my mom passed away, I ended up like pulling back from a lot of different things because I needed to take care of and deal with me. And I didn't necessarily want to explain it to somebody that I really didn't have a relationship with, that I felt like was just kind of like I knew, but I didn't have like a personal connection or a relationship with. And so I don't know. I think I would challenge that a little bit longer instead of just 3 months. but I also would just put them into like a monthly thing that they got once a month that was just information and content.
Right. Yeah. So and that's generally, that's a good way to go. Right. And it all depends on it all depends on your tolerance, right, and how you see it. Right. So I know I've been on plenty of people's email lists, and people that I like communicated with, and I held in high regard. And they basically, after 90 days, I didn't respond. They said, well, we got to let you go. And I got an email that said, hey, I'm sorry that it's not working out, but it doesn't seem like we're communicating anymore. If you would like to re-engage, you can find me at this web address, or find me on social media. Like, I've gotten those emails in the past. And that leads me to another point. And so, again, marketing isn't, from my perspective, my marketing is not siloed. It's a system, right? And if it doesn't work in this channel, then we go to this channel. If it wasn't working that channel, we go to this other channel. In this case, I would then put them in a retargeting campaign where I would just follow them around on social media, and anywhere that they go, they're gonna see it. And as they scroll, they'll see one of my ads pop up. I haven't engaged in that yet, but that's how I would do that.
What about you, Keith, before we zip off? What's your thoughts on that?
So, Terina, I appreciate your giving the pushback, and I'll actually give you some theoretical underpinning to your pushback. Donald Miller, who's the author of Building a Story Brand, says when you're doing email marketing, what's important is that the person sees your name in their inbox on a regular basis, whether or not they click through. Mm-hmm. So just your name showing up in their inbox is part of your top of mind awareness. However, because of the stuff that Xavier and I do, you're running a risk if you're sending a lot of emails to people and they're not clicking, they're not even opening it. It's staying unopened in their inbox. From a deliverability standpoint, which is the topic last week and is an underpinning topic for today, is the email service providers see that tag of unopened, and they downgrade your email closer and closer to spam. So it's this balancing act between, yes, I'm in their inbox, but I'm not getting clicks, and therefore I'm slightly closer and closer to I'm still in their inbox, but I'm in the spam folder of their inbox. Right. And then that's not a good help. So there's a whole bunch of it depends here. Right. I can see that. And all of these factors are interacting with each other. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, be in their inbox, but do so in a way that's engaging enough that they're willing to actually click, at least open it, so that they get the tag to the ESP, to the email service provider. That's cool. Yeah. Your video went out. I don't know what happened, but the video is not showing up.
Who, mine?
I see everybody.
Yeah.
No.
Probably
mine. It's probably locked up because I'm on satellite internet and I was talking with my hands.
Oh. Yep. Got it. That makes sense.
Satellite internet's out there?
Oh yeah, I'm out in the woods, man.
Yeah, you out there. You beyond fiber.
2.5 miles worth of gravel to the nearest asphalt, and I don't know about Justin, but
I did it.
Or Rainier Connect told us that they couldn't even guarantee us dial-up bandwidth, even if they ran us DSL.
Wow.
They said
did they not put you on the fiber plan?
They were telling us that fiber's not even available. The fiber's not available on this side of the creek.
Oh, on that side of the creek. Oh.
Where are you at, Keith?
Hey, you guys, I'm gonna gonna stop the recording and
Okay.
Yeah.
invite people to come to the next week where we're going to talk about something else. Stay tuned. We don't know what that topic's going to be yet, but next week's office hours, we might even talk about funnels and make it a continuation of Black Hole Design Studios office hours, where we go deeper into like funnels and what that looks like, and what from lead source all the way to credit card swipe, and what that looks like. So come
Yeah.
back again next week. We're going to be into it, and thank you very much, Terina and Justin, for stopping
we
by
can
for this
talk-
office hours, and we'll be back to it.
Technical parts.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I'm going to stop the recording, and I'll holler at you guys later. But you guys stay.